Often perceived incorrectly as complete opponents of technology, the Amish actually possess an intriguing connection with electricity that might catch you by surprise. Although numerous people believe they shun all types of electricity, the situation is considerably more complex and, quite frankly, clever. They have devised inventive methods for utilizing energy that could inspire envy in any contemporary environmental advocate. The Amish strategy towards power represents an ideal mix of heritage and forward thinking. What's particularly captivating is that these approaches might contain the secret to modern energy self-sufficiency without compelling you to forego your cherished Netflix series. Let's explore how these master innovators manage to keep power flowing while remaining loyal to their core principles. Allow me to debunk a widespread myth right away. If your impression is that the Amish entirely reject electricity, you might need to brace yourself. During my excursions to various Amish settlements, and believe me, I've sampled my share of incredible homemade pies during this investigation, I've come to understand that their association with electricity is more akin to a meticulous compromise than a complete prohibition. It somewhat mirrors my grandmother's assertion that she detests technology, yet somehow successfully FaceTimes me each day. There's invariably more depth to the narrative. What the Amish permit or forbid isn't uniform across all their communities. Each district, their term for a local community, adheres to its own Ordnung, a distinctive German word signifying their set of regulations. Every community independently determines which forms of power are congruent with their values. And let me assure you, these rules can differ more substantially than you might imagine. The ultimate decision makers are the community bishops and elders who convene routinely to deliberate on these subjects. Think of them as the globe's most fascinating policymakers, except rather than perpetual disagreement, they are assessing whether a particular kind of battery storage might foster excessive reliance on the outside world. Their deliberations can extend for hours, sometimes even days, as they meticulously evaluate the advantages and potential disadvantages of each technology. What remains absolutely forbidden is anything establishing a direct connection to the external world's power grid. This restriction doesn't stem from a belief that power lines are inherently wicked. Instead, they endeavor to avoid the allure of easy access to the multitude of distractions accompanying unlimited electricity. No perpetual TikTok scrolling is happening in their homes. However, this is where matters become truly engaging. They have identified exceptionally inventive ways to power their essential needs without compromising their values. It's as if they are participating in a real-world iteration of that survival video game my nephew is fixated on, only they are genuinely succeeding. During one particularly notable visit, an Amish farmer presented his workshop configuration, and I must concede, it exhibited greater sophistication than my own garage. They have perfected the skill of employing alternative power sources that preserve their self-sufficiency while upholding their community-centric way of life. The ingenuity I observed would leave any engineering student utterly impressed. We are discussing systems that have been refined across generations to be both effective and congruent with their principles. What truly impresses me is the manner in which distinct communities have modified these regulations to align with their specific requirements. Take Lancaster County, for example. Some communities there have discovered methods to power small refrigeration units for their dairy operations without violating their principles. Meanwhile, in Holmes County, Ohio, you might observe slightly varied interpretations permitting specific types of battery-operated equipment within their workshops. It appears as though each community has formulated its own unique recipe for integrating tradition with practicality, and somehow they have all successfully put it into practice. The history of solar power within Amish settlements dates back to the 1970s, a time frame that might appear unexpectedly early. Around the same period, disco music was gaining widespread popularity. Some progressive Amish individuals were discreetly transforming their energy usage. The first recorded instances originated in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, where a few courageous individuals opted to experiment with these novel sun-capturing panels. I recall an elderly Amish gentleman remarking with a distinct sparkle in his eye, "We weren't aiming to be revolutionary. We simply required a superior method for keeping our milk cold." This early adoption wasn't merely about staying current. It was a carefully weighed response to evolving economic pressures and the imperative to preserve their independence. Currently, one can find solar panels in Amish settlements across Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Indiana, though they might not be immediately apparent upon first inspection. Each community has applied its own interpretation to the rules, much like every family possesses its unique secret recipe for shoe-fly pie. In Holmes County, Ohio, for instance, certain communities permit solar panels for energizing workshop implements, but prohibit their application for entertainment devices. Conversely, in Lancaster County, one might discover solar-powered refrigeration units humming quietly behind barns, ensuring dairy products stay fresh. This variety in approaches demonstrates the Amish understanding that a uniform solution doesn't suffice when integrating heritage with practicality. Some settlements allow only modest panels powering specific tools or equipment, while others have embraced more extensive systems for multiple purposes. The crucial determinant is whether the technology fortifies or weakens community bonds. An Amish bishop elucidated it to me in this manner: "If a tool aids us in collaborating and preserving our way of life, it warrants consideration. If it isolates us from one another, that is where we establish our boundary." This philosophy has resulted in some intriguing adaptations, such as shared charging stations where families can power up their vital equipment while socializing with neighbors. In the majority of settlements, solar panels must adhere to particular standards that might seem unusually stringent. They must not be visible from the roadway. No showcasing solar panel aesthetics is permitted. Connection to the public grid is forbidden. Independence remains paramount. Typically, they must fulfill a practical function rather than merely offering convenience. Certain communities have even formulated their own distinct directives, such as one district permitting only solar panels that community members themselves can install and upkeep. This do-it-yourself method has cultivated a remarkable proficiency within these settlements, with some individuals becoming unexpectedly adept solar technicians. The sole item we will ever endorse on our channel is a publication by Claude Davis, an experienced prepper, detailing 126 superfoods and preservation techniques from periods of crisis like the Great Depression and wartime, which are unobtainable elsewhere. Our choice to endorse his book stems from the belief that we represent the final generation capable of passing these methods and knowledge of superfoods to our offspring or descendants. It would be regrettable if this knowledge concerning highly nourishing foods and preservation strategies for enduring crises vanished. Additionally, a book on herbal remedies by Nicola Pelian is available in their store. If you are viewing this broadcast on television, you can search for our channel, Frugal Solutions, on your mobile phone or tablet and locate the books via the link provided in our channel description or any other video's description. The captivating aspect is the manner in which each district has identified its ideal approach regarding solar adoption. Some settlements have achieved such proficiency that they are now assisting their English, non-Amish neighbors in better comprehending sustainable energy. And regarding a better comprehension of systems, just wait until I describe how they put these configurations into practice. The positioning of solar panels in Amish settlements serves as a demonstration of practical engineering. The majority of families choose ground-mounted arrangements over rooftop installations, which is logical considering that scaling roofs for panel cleaning appeals to virtually no one. They generally place their arrays on the southern aspect of structures, tilted precisely to capture the greatest possible sunlight. One farmer illustrated how they employed a basic stick and shadow technique to determine the ideal angle. Regarding energy production, the typical solar configuration for an Amish family is smaller than what might be found on an average non-Amish English residence. However, don't be misled by this. These systems are surprisingly effective. A standard arrangement might consist of 4 to 6 panels, producing approximately 1.5 to 2 kilowatts of power. While this may not seem substantial, it is ample for operating essential machinery and even supplying energy to a small workshop. As one woodworker expressed, "We don't require sufficient power to illuminate Times Square, just enough to operate a saw and prevent the butter from softening." What is especially ingenious is their method of adapting conventional tools to operate via their solar installations. I observed a workshop where standard power tools had been altered to function on DC power, resulting in an arrangement that was both effective and sensible. The alterations were executed so skillfully that, at first, I failed to discern they were not factory standard equipment. When I remarked on this, the artisan simply grinned and stated, "Necessity is the mother of invention, but simplicity is her favorite aunt." This pragmatic view of solar energy extends beyond merely providing illumination. It centers on preserving autonomy while adopting beneficial technology. Furthermore, these systems are remarkably flexible. One family demonstrated how they incrementally increased their installation over 5 years, augmenting capacity as their requirements evolved and their comprehension of the technology advanced. Discussing adaptable and evolving systems, just wait until I explain how you can utilize these very concepts for your own residence. After dedicating innumerable hours to examining their configurations, I have condensed their insights into a functional guide that doesn't necessitate abandoning your Wi-Fi, unless that's your preference. Firstly, prioritize location. This step indeed demands some forethought. For a fundamental arrangement akin to those used by many Amish families, approximately 400 square feet of south-oriented space is required, about the dimensions of a standard 2-car garage. Now, let's address finances, a subject universally favored, perhaps excluding tense family gatherings. A rudimentary Amish-inspired solar installation typically costs between $3,000 and $5,000. While this figure might appear substantial, consider that it's lower than the amount some individuals allocate to their coffee consumption over several years. The essential components required resemble the following: 4 to 6 solar panels, providing 400 to 600 watts combined, totaling $1,200 to $1,800. A standard charge controller costing $200 to $300. Deep cycle batteries priced between $800 and $1,200. An inverter, optional yet beneficial unless adopting a fully Amish approach, ranging from $400 to $600. Mounting equipment and wiring estimated at $400 to $600. The installation procedure is sufficiently uncomplicated that even I completed it without significant mishaps. Begin with the mounting structure. In Amish settlements, this is frequently a straightforward ground-mounted framework constructed from treated wood or metal posts. Following this are the panels, then the wiring leading to your charge controller and battery storage. The entire configuration can typically be assembled over a weekend, although I suggest allocating 2 days, just in case you inadvertently connect your doorbell wiring to your garage door mechanism. A useful tip I picked up from an Amish artisan is to commence modestly and enlarge the system as requirements dictate. Start by generating sufficient power for vital appliances, perhaps your refrigerator and several lights. This method not only distributes the expense over time, but also aids in comprehending your setup more effectively. As the craftsman phrased it, you wouldn't purchase a horse prior to learning horsemanship, correct? The true elegance of this strategy lies in its straightforwardness. No intricate grid connection apparatus, no vast expanses of panels, merely direct power production that you can grasp and service independently. However, if you're contemplating how to preserve all that generated solar energy for overcast periods, well, that introduces another truly fascinating aspect. Regarding those overcast periods, contemporary Amish settlements have become quite ingenious regarding their battery storage arrangements. And rest assured, they aren't utilizing salvaged Tesla batteries from hypothetical defunct electric buggies. The majority of Amish families select deep-cycle lead-acid batteries, although certain more forward-thinking communities have begun trials with lithium iron phosphate, LiFePO4, batteries. A standard configuration comprises 4 to 8 batteries linked in series, capable of storing between 4 and 8 kilowatt-hours kWh of electrical energy, sufficient power to operate vital appliances during multiple overcast days. The financial breakdown is uncomplicated. A fundamental battery storage arrangement costs between $2,000 and $4,000. Here is the list of necessary items. 4 deep-cycle batteries at approximately 400 API/ECE, 400 apiece, 2,600 total. A battery monitoring device, 300, NINTELLIGENTCHARGINGSYSTEM, 300. An intelligent charging system, 500. Cables and connection components, 200. AHOUSINGUNITHVENTILATION, 200. Housing unit with ventilation, 400. The financial advantages are noteworthy. A typical family employing this configuration can reduce their electricity expenses by 50% to 70%, resulting in annual savings around $800. Most families initiate with a modest capacity, sufficient only for essential requirements, about 2 kilowatts, and then progressively enlarge it. Upkeep is uncomplicated, involving monthly checks of battery water levels for lead-acid types, quarterly cleaning of terminals, and daily observation of voltage. Certain settlements have even transformed battery storage into a shared asset, where several families utilize larger battery banks collectively for their mutual workshop necessities. They devise usage timetables that ensure continuous power for all participants while reinforcing their communal ties. However, if you find that remarkable, just wait until I describe how particular Amish groups are genuinely tapping into the power of the wind. Those rotating blades one might observe behind an Amish farmstead are not merely decorative. They belong to a wind energy heritage extending back to the 1980s. Presently, wind power has gained traction in Amish settlements throughout the breezier regions of the Midwest, notably in Indiana and Michigan. In contrast to solar panels, which required some persuasion for adoption by more traditionalist communities, wind energy received a more enthusiastic reception. As one elder clarified to me, wind is a divine provision that has powered mills since biblical eras. It's difficult to dispute that reasoning. The regulations concerning wind energy in Amish settlements mirror their pragmatic stance on technology. Most districts permit wind turbines provided they serve distinct functions, typically energizing workshops or agricultural machinery. Height limitations differ among communities, but the majority restrict their turbines to below 40 feet in height, approximately the elevation of a substantial barn. A bishop articulated it aptly: "Our aim is to capture the breeze, not to aspire towards the heavens." The intriguing aspect is the congruence of these regulations with fundamental Amish principles. Wind power aligns seamlessly with their commitment to self-reliance. Harvesting one's own wind epitomizes independence. Furthermore, unlike solar panels requiring production in advanced factories, numerous parts of basic wind turbines can be constructed within Amish workshops themselves. I observed one family's adolescent sons constructing the majority of their turbine, although the father conceded that the electrical elements were sourced from non-Amish, English vendors. Interestingly, community endorsement displays regional variations. In northern Indiana, wind turbines are often seen spinning conspicuously in open view, whereas some Pennsylvania settlements favor positioning them discreetly behind barns or rows of trees. An Amish farmer in Michigan shared that they initially feared the turbines might draw excessive tourist focus, but he quipped, "It seems visitors are more occupied photographing our buggies than observing what powers our milk chillers." The regulations themselves are admirably practical. Turbines must fulfill a useful function, remain disconnected from the public grid, and avoid excessive height that could detract from the community's modest aesthetic. Certain districts have incorporated their own particular stipulations, such as one settlement mandating turbine shutdown during Sunday worship, or another insisting solely on black or white paint for the support towers. Speaking of these towers, however, Wait until I describe the actual process of erecting them. The technique of erecting an Amish wind turbine somewhat resembles coordinating a barn raising, albeit without the barn, yet infused with comparable community collaboration. These arrangements are notably ingenious, and having witnessed numerous installations, I can attest they have refined a method that would impress any engineer. A standard Amish wind turbine typically reaches a height of 30 to 40 feet, producing between 2 and 5 kilowatts of power, adequate to operate a reasonably sized woodworking enterprise or sustain a small dairy farm's functions. The expense for a full installation ranges from $4,000 to $7,600. THECOMPONENTS INCLUDE THETURBINEUNIT $7,000. The components include the turbine unit 2000 to 3000, TOWERANDMOUNTINGGEAR 3000, tower and mounting gear 1500, charge controller and inverter setup 800, BATTERYFORENERGYS TORAGE 800, battery for energy storage 1000, assorted wiring and control mechanisms 500. The installation phase holds particular interest. Most settlements favor tilt-up towers, enabling turbine maintenance without needing acrobatic skills. The tower's foundation is anchored in concrete approximately 4 feet deep, with guy wires offering additional support. A family I visited had designated their guy wire anchor points using discarded buggy wheels, functional and visually appealing, though they insisted it wasn't deliberate. The energy yield is quite substantial when analyzed. In an area with reasonable wind averaging 12 millimeters, a typical Amish turbine generates about 300 kilowatt-hours kWh monthly. As one farmer noted, that suffices to operate all the tools in my workshop and ensure the ice cream stays solid. One must have priorities after all. The most advantageous aspect is that most families recoup their initial expenditure within 4 to 6 years via energy cost reductions. Interested in emulating their approach? Begin by assessing your local average wind velocities. A minimum average of 10 mph is generally needed for viability. A practical guideline from an Amish installer. If your laundry fails to dry when hung outdoors, a wind turbine might not be the optimal choice for you. Additionally, required is roughly a 40-40-foot area of unobstructed space, distant from trees and structures. A helpful suggestion: verify local zoning regulations prior to excavating foundations for that tower. Naturally, wind power isn't the sole option in the Amish energy toolkit. Certain communities have discovered an even more unexpected power source, one that could lead you to view your fuel gauge differently. Let's discuss how certain Amish factions are utilizing diesel and alternative fuel sources. Who might have predicted that the steady chug of a diesel engine would integrate into Amish existence? Nevertheless, in specific settlements, especially in northern Indiana and central Ohio, diesel power is now as prevalent as fresh baked bread at a Sunday gathering. The trend began in the late 1970s when a forward-thinking Amish farmer deduced that a fixed diesel engine could supply energy to his whole workshop without violating his principles. The goal isn't rapidity, he purportedly remarked, it's consistency. The regulations surrounding diesel usage are as meticulously planned as a chess champion's initial strategy. Most settlements authorize stationary diesel engines for defined applications, operating machinery in workshops, energizing milk refrigeration systems, or running large-capacity washing machines for household enterprises. The crucial term is stationary. These engines are not intended for vehicles but function as fixed power units fulfilling the community's functional requirements. This is where the financial details become compelling. A standard diesel configuration for an Amish workshop ranges from $3,000 to $6,000. ENCOMPASSINGTHEENGINE 6,000 encompassing the engine 2,000, generator head 1,500, FUELCONTAINMENTSYSTEM 500, fuel containment system 800, and electrical parts $700. However, the truly unexpected element relates to fuel expenses. Numerous communities have arranged bulk purchase deals, acquiring diesel for approximately $2.50 per gallon, and some have commenced manufacturing their own biodiesel using discarded vegetable oil. The operational efficiency might astound you. A properly serviced diesel generator consuming 5 gallons daily incurs about $12.50 in fuel costs, yet can energize an entire furniture workshop that generates goods valued at thousands of dollars. One Amish artisan presented his comprehensive accounts. They are known for careful bookkeeping, which indicated his diesel arrangement recouped its cost in merely 18 months due to enhanced manufacturing output. Regarding alternative fuel options, certain communities have demonstrated ingenuity in sourcing. An increasing number are transforming used oil from nearby eateries into biodiesel. The procedure is remarkably straightforward. They gather spent cooking oil, screen it, and convert it into fuel via a fundamental chemical reaction. As one Amish mechanic humorously put it, "Our engines operate on the power of French fries." The cost reductions are also substantial, producing their own biodiesel costs under $1.50 per gallon. Yet, diesel is not the exclusive fossil fuel creating an impact in Amish settlements. Another gas-fueled transformation is underway, altering how these conventional communities handle cooking, heating, and operating their enterprises. Have you ever pondered how an Amish residence remains heated during the harshest winter months without electrical power? This is precisely where propane plays its role. Propane has evolved into the understated mainstay of Amish energy self-reliance, fueling a range of applications from meal preparation to industrial machinery. Unlike grid-supplied electricity, propane aligns ideally with their principles. It is uncomplicated, dependable, and avoids linking them to the external world. It's akin to possessing a dependable draft horse, an Amish farmer informed me. Only this one consumes nothing when idle. The immense popularity of propane in Amish settlements stems from its extraordinary adaptability. An average Amish home utilizes approximately 800 to 1,000 gallons each year, employing it for diverse tasks, including cooking, space heating, operating refrigerators, and driving industrial apparatus. The elegance of propane lies in its adaptability. One can ignite a blacksmith's forge or maintain frozen ice cream using the identical fuel supply. Let's delve into the figures, my preferred segment, and I pledge to refrain from fuel price humor. A typical residential installation involves a 500-gallon tank, costing about $2,200 if bought, although most households lease one for approximately $100 per year. Piping and regulators add another $600, and essential appliances such as a stove and water heater amount to around $2,000 together. Regarding the fuel itself, most communities have secured bulk purchasing agreements at roughly $1.75 per gallon, considerably lower than the rates paid by their non-Amish, English counterparts. The savings accumulate substantially. One family displayed their annual energy accounts, recorded with flawless handwriting, I should note. Their total propane expenses amount to approximately $1,600 yearly, encompassing cooking, heating, refrigeration, and their modest confectionery enterprise. Juxtapose this with the combined utility expenditures of an average American home, and the reason for their contentment becomes clear. Now, the truly captivating part emerges: the gas supply network. Many Amish settlements have cultivated ties with area suppliers who make direct deliveries to farms. Some larger communities even operate their own propane cooperatives, purchasing wholesale and allocating it among participants. It functions like a purchasing cooperative, clarified an Amish entrepreneur, but instead of securing reduced prices on textiles, we obtain favorable rates on gas. Discussing energy sources, there exists yet another conventional technique still actively employed, quite literally turning wheels, in certain Amish settlements. Have you ever considered how their workshops were powered prior to the advent of engines? Allow me to describe how flowing water continues to drive machinery in some of the most tradition-bound communities. Well before the era of solar panels and propane storage, the unassuming water wheel served as nature's initial power station. Although most people link water wheels to vintage photographs and historical texts, certain Amish communities have maintained this age-old technology in operation well into contemporary times. And I assure you, these are not the water wheels of your distant ancestors. In locations such as Holmes County, Ohio, and Lancaster, Pennsylvania, where creeks and modest rivers abound, water power is undergoing a form of revival. These contemporary Amish water wheel installations can produce between 3 and 5 horsepower, sufficient energy to operate a comprehensively outfitted woodworking facility. One artisan I encountered possessed a system that drove all his equipment, from the lathe to the bandsaw, fueled by a stream scarcely larger than a typical garden watering hose. The expense involved in establishing a water-powered arrangement might take you aback. A full installation typically costs between $5,000 and $8,000. CONTINGENTONTHECONSPECIFICONFIGURATION HEREISACOSTESTIMATION THEWELCOMPONENT 8,000, contingent on the location and specific configuration. Here is a cost estimation. The water wheel component, 2,000. Shaft and gearing mechanism, 1,500. WATERCHANNELCONSTRUCTION, 1,500. Water channel construction, 2,000. Mechanical power transmission system, 2,500. Although not inexpensive initially, there exists a pleasing paradox in that, once operational, the energy source is effectively without cost. The true ingenuity is evident in their adaptation of this venerable technology. Most contemporary Amish water wheel systems incorporate sealed bearings and advanced materials designed for longevity with little required upkeep. They have also devised smart water storage solutions. Numerous communities construct modest retention basins uphill from their workshops, ensuring a dependable power supply even through periods of reduced rainfall. Consider it a form of battery, an Amish constructor elucidated, except this particular one replenishes itself whenever precipitation occurs. The energy production is remarkable upon calculation. A skillfully engineered water wheel setup can yield approximately 1,000 watts of uninterrupted power operating continuously 24/7, provided the water source remains active. This accumulates to more than 8,000 kilowatt-hours per year, easily sufficient to sustain a busy workshop. One woodworker mentioned his water-driven shop had experienced no lack of power for 15 years, discounting an incident where the neighborhood beaver colony opted to reconfigure his water course. Yet, possibly the most extraordinary feature of these water-driven workshops is not the mechanics involved, but how they embody an ideal equilibrium between the past and present, between forward thinking and heritage. As a different Amish artisan remarked while demonstrating his water-powered configuration, occasionally the traditional methods remain superior. We simply assist them in functioning somewhat more effectively.